Hello, I'm Rebecca Horan, and a very warm welcome to A Little Birdie Told Me, a podcast brought to you by rollercoaster.ie. In this season, I will sit down and chat to 16 pretty interesting people to discuss pregnancy, parenting, and everything in between. On this episode, I sit down with Georgie Crawford, host of The Good Glow, health coach and wellness speaker, author and mum to Pia, and her husband Jamie Crawford, wellness speaker and other half of The Good Glow. This podcast was recorded a few weeks ago when Jamie and Georgie announced the news that they were having a second baby. So Jamie Crawford and Georgie Crawford, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Bax. We love you. We've all worked together. You've been such a supporter of my podcast, and I appreciate it so much more than you'll ever know. So we're delighted. We didn't even have to think twice about it, did we, Jamie?
No, I get a chance to talk about parenting.
I know,
straight in
but I also really wanted Jamie. I think it's a pretty special vibe. Like, Georgie, you're such a doll, and like, you had me on The Good Glow, and I think I've spoken to you about the aftermath of that. Mm-hmm. And how beautiful you were to me on that podcast, because you empower people. Yes, you get a story out of it, but you really are gentle about that and really conscious about who you have on and careful. And I felt very loved, but I felt very raw at the time. And that's a good few years later. But I just was always like, I've seen Jamie talk, like, you're on the Late Late. I've heard your story in bits and pieces. I watch you. I just think you're phenomenal. And I just really wanted to get the two of you, because it's a pretty big powerhouse here. And talk about how things are going and how they will go and all the messiness that is life. So look, we'll start. We've got a lot to talk about. So I want to try and get through it in a really nice way where I'm not just milling through the information. Yeah. You are a couple for how long?
God, we were only just talking about
70
this.
years.
At least like over 10 years now. We're married coming up to 8 years now.
I think 13 years.
13 years. So yeah, Jamie's amazing, and I say this because he's sitting beside me, but not only
out of pure fear,
not only because he's sitting beside me, but Jamie is such a big part of The Good Glow, and has really helped me grow it to what it is today, and it wouldn't be what it is today without him.
This podcast is brought to you by Aveeno Baby, a dermatologist and paediatrician tested skincare range specially formulated with high quality oats to nourish, soothe and protect your baby's delicate skin from first use. Aveeno Baby is available in stores nationwide, including Tesco, SuperValu and Dunnes. And as your little ones get older, the new Aveeno Kids range is proven to cleanse, protect and help nourish kids' developing skin, scalp and hair. Also available at Tesco and Dunnes.
So thank you for asking us both to come in, because it's nice to do these sort of things together.
Yeah, it's rare, but it's nice.
Yeah, it is rare, I'd say. I think you have to have both, because I think, like, you're absolutely right. You are the face of The Good Glow, and you are, such a brand, and you're so well loved and liked. But we know that you are also the driving force, Jamie. Like, you can feel that, and that teamwork, and that business acumen that you bring from your experience in the media, but also your emotional wherewithal and knowledge. Like, it's brilliant. Why The Good Glow? Like, why did you want to? Because I know you've stepped away from some pretty big roles, haven't you? And I know that's to do with health as well, but can you tell us about it all?
Going right back. So I was CEO in a radio station in Dublin, Spain for 9 years. I'd worked there for 14. I left that role actually just after Pia was born, to maybe just chill a bit. And I had been previously diagnosed with multiple sclerosis about 8 years before I left. So I'd kind of worked through that journey and got to a place where I was okay with it, but I needed to slow down a little bit. So I felt like the right time came. Pia was born. We just bought a new house. I was like, this is, everything is kind of slowing down a little bit for me. I want to focus on family a bit more. I had been hell for leather in my career since I was 23 or 4. So we sort of made a decision that I'd step away from it. We went into a startup, and then unfortunately Georgie got sick, and I kind of had to step out of that startup and go back to media. And then I spent 2 years as CEO of Love and Media Group, and then things, took a turn for the I suppose a positive in Georgie's life. She got better. The podcast sort of took off, and we were sitting down one night, and I kind of said, like, I feel like I need a break. It's been, a tough few years getting through the cancer and starting that new role, and I just felt like I needed to slow down properly now. So I said I'd take a little break for a couple of months, and help the Good Glow get up to a certain point, and then I'd step away.
Okay, so
And
there
I
was a bit of a like, I'll just help for a while.
Yeah, I haven't stepped away.
That's so interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought from the very get-go you were like, right, you know, in my mind, because we don't know, you know, the Good Glow, okay, we're going to make this. But actually you were just like, look, I'm going to give it some love. I'm going to go back to what I do, running businesses.
Yeah, we were going to see what would happen if we brought someone else in who was Jamie with all of his experience. And like, I look at my business as a department store, right? So, and this also helps me detach myself from it a little bit, because the podcast is my heart and soul, my baby. You know, every time I'm in season, like, I put everything into it. So I see my business as a department store. So the ground floor is where people come in. So they're coming in via the podcast or my Instagram page. But then we needed to build on the department store and have like level 1, level 2, level 3, because, you know, if something happened to the podcast, then what do we have? Or if, you know, Instagram is not Instagram anymore, then what do we do? So Jamie came in and just started building the levels of the store. So like the events, our products, corporate, all of our corporate stuff, our retreats. So now we have like a few levels of the department store.
Got a massive Trump Tower.
And Jamie sometimes is on level 5 and I'm, you know, on the ground floor.
Crying about a podcast guest, and he's like,
and we don't have to see each other then.
you're like, I've got an event, Georgie.
Yeah. So we got out from our kitchen table. We built a little office in the garden. We hired someone and we just haven't looked back. And Jamie hasn't had a day off since.
No. It's 7 days a week. But
And like, you were in, like me, in the thick of me, like you were too, Georgie, but you'd stepped away a little bit earlier. Like, you were in the thick of that demanding. It's a grueling work-life balance, but it is also, you know, satisfying sometimes, and you get, you know, paid well, and you get, was that, and I'm honest answer here, you know, I don't think you guys were totally loaded or given a ton an hour. I don't know, but I don't think you were. I think you were like pretty normal people who bought a stunning home and had a child. Were you scared out of your mind, or did you just kind of swallow that fear and decide that, or did you just believe in Georgie so much?
no, I've always, with myself, I've always said I'll always back myself and my own ability. And the same with Georgie. You know, I always, like, we worked together when we were in Spain, and Georgie was, you know, really successful herself really early on, and she had this great drive, and she had this great creativity, and she had all the key components to, you know, make some whatever she does successful. So I kind of,
Without being an asshole.
yeah,
It helps, because if you're an asshole, people don't really want to work with you.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, I kind of knew it was going to work. I just didn't know that I would stay as long as I did stay. The intention was to get it up and running, see what happens, but maybe step back to media then eventually. But, you know, I kind of, I love the balance we have in life now, and I kind of really enjoy the ability to, like, go pick Pia up from school, spend the afternoon with her, put her to bed, and then jump back on and do maybe 2 hours. Like, we just took 130 people to New York to run the marathon. I spent most of my evenings from October to maybe December, when the bulk of the work of that project needed to be done, out in the office at kind of 8 o'clock at night. But my day had been like just knocking around the house, making sure Pia was okay, looking at doing stuff with Georgie. And then the evening became my focus. So that flexibility of being able to work whenever I want to work, as opposed to having to be in the office. And when I was a CEO, I always had to be in almost first, and I always had to leave almost last, and be there and go to client events and stuff like that. So that, you know, do you
think you'd be sad doing that with Pia and with maybe the future you have as a family? Do you feel sad knowing that that could still be you, the guy in at 7 and out at 9, and like what you'd be missing? Yeah.
Like I always remember coming home. I had just left media and gone into a startup where I had a bit more flexibility. I remember driving home one night and then pulling into the driveway, and Georgie was in the window of the we live in a bungalow and it's kind of raised. So I was driving in, looking up, and there she was waving with Pia in the window, and I was just like, remember going, this is amazing to be home at like 5:30. I left the office at 5 that day when I was in the startup. Left at 5 every day and got home at kind of 5:15. I was never like that before, and I remember just thinking how amazing that was. So yeah, like having that now is all day, every day is great.
Well, like, well done. You've bloody kicked ass. Georgie, how, like, you know, the good glow is something that it's just probably in your ear and in your head and in your mind, and then it's there and people are Instagramming you, and it's like this all in. But do you absolutely just love what you do?
Yeah, and it's hard as well because I've had to separate myself from the good glow and my identity, and that's been a real big journey over the last while. And anyone who starts their own business, like, you're so hard on yourself, and I have been, and luckily Jamie has been there for me over the past few years in my kind of tough moments to remind me of what I've done and created. And so, yeah, look, I'm working on, do you know what? I've been really good this year at separating myself from it and being way more kind of laid back and not. And I think the department store thing helps me because I don't.
You compartmentalize.
Yes, and I don't hold things so closely anymore.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I'm kind of like, but you're such a. So you do. You're like me. You analyze and you.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's so interesting. I feel like you're very good at being professional, like you are better. My husband's like, can't you compartmentalize your life a little bit more? Because everything is at once. I feel this way about her school, and this happened then, and this happened in this meeting. And then also, I'm really concerned about I was like, can you not just, like, you just.
Yeah.
So I didn't really feel that you were that person. I feel like you're quite clean about what you do. But no, you were analysing stuff.
Yeah, totally. And then I think by writing my book, Glow, it really helped me put everything I've learned over the last 5 years into a book. And I was writing all of these steps on like how you can quit people pleasing, how you connect with yourself, and actually writing these things down. I was like, oh yeah, I know this stuff. I need to practice it more. I need to lean into it. So putting all my learnings into my book and reading it back and really spending time with everything that I've learned over the last 5 years has helped remind me of how far I've come. It's helped remind me that I used to be sitting on my bathroom floor sicker than I've ever been in my life, just praying to survive. So the fact that I get to go to Dundrum and sit in Starbucks and write my book for an afternoon is an absolute gift. So that whole experience, that 8 months of writing the book, reminded me of how lucky I was, but it also reminded me of what's important. Yeah, I wrote about this in my book that I used to have breakfast and lunch at my desk in work. And then I swapped my desk, my porridge on my desk and my whatever was on my lunch plate on my desk, to eating breakfast and lunch in an oncology day ward, getting chemotherapy. So then I remember writing, like, I can't believe I used to complain about Monday mornings and think being well enough to face the world on a Monday and go to work and feel good was a pain in the ass. Like, every day we get up and we're alive is an absolute gift, and just to connect with that. And it's not all, butterflies and roses up in our house, but we do connect with what's important, and it's important to remind yourself of that.
Is there ever, do you think, in the minds, I thought of doing a kind of spin-off for men's health or incorporating it, or is it just like, geez, I've enough on my plate, Bex? Like, just
at the moment, there's definitely enough on the plate. I've been involved in some men's stuff before. So during COVID, we set up a men's group called Woodsman up in Kilturnan in the forest. It's a group of men.
You're not lolling. This is a man. Woodsman. Okay. Were they hot? Who are these men up in Kilturnan? What?
Up in the
There's
forest.
no
So
girls
funny.
allowed.
There's no girls allowed. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
But yeah, no, we set up and there was 10 or 12 of us met up every Wednesday and sat around this fire really and just had a chat and talked and stuff like that. So I'm definitely an advocate for
the chats.
The chats, and certainly men not holding stuff in. I held stuff in myself for a long time. I hid the fact that I had MS for 8 years, like I said, and it took me a long time to come to terms with it. And I went through the whole grieving process of, like anyone does when they get a diagnosis like that. And it took me a long time to accept.
Were you hiding from it? Like, none of us in work could believe that you had been sick. When I remember seeing your interview, I think it was late that you discussed that, or maybe you'd done it before it. I was like, what the hell? I'd have my period and not want to go into work. And this man was unwell and was also traumatized probably from that. Like, was it just a hideaway thing, or is it pride, Jamie?
There's a little bit of like, yeah. So like literally the grieving process is like denial, anger, depression, acceptance. You go out. So like, I think the first couple of years for me, I was kind of in denial. Like, I went back to work after 2 weeks, and threw myself straight in because I didn't know what the course was going to be. So like, I was so passionate about what I did back then. I was like, ignorantly sort of said to myself, I don't know how long I have left doing this job, so I need to succeed and do all the things that I wanted to do in a 5-year period, in 2 years, because I don't know where this illness is going. So I kind of threw myself into work for a while and just buried it away, and did my best to hide symptoms, and I did make adjustments. In that role, I would have been socializing a lot prior to getting sick, as you do in the media industry. I just disappeared, and some people couldn't understand why I wasn't coming out, and why the CEO should be out meeting people.
Did you just say
I just said, listen, I can't make it, and I just literally stopped going out, stopped entertaining clients to the level I had been doing. So I made those kind of adjustments, but and I started to adjust my hours a little bit. So I went into work a bit later because tiredness and getting good quality sleep is a really important part of your maintenance of MS. So I'd come into work a little bit later, and I'd stay a little bit later, miss the traffic, and avoid this. So I'd kind of adjusted life to avoid stressors, but I hadn't really faced it at all. And then eventually I did, and then I decided to share my story on The Good Glow.
That was it. I heard it there first. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I was like, some excuse. That was where I heard it. I was really stunned. A lot of us that had worked there were really sad. We're like, are we all is this such a horrible industry that no one would, or was it that you just, and I know you lost your dad as well, so there was a ton of things going on in your life.
Yeah, I was pretty good at hiding it, that kind of way. I'm relatively, I would describe myself as pretty resilient person. So I was kind of able to box it away a little bit and maybe not deal with it, but just get on with life. And then I'm quite slow and methodical with almost everything I do. So coming to terms with the MS and then talking about it was probably like an 8-year process, whereby maybe with other people it would have been a bit quicker than that. But, like to your point there on how would we not have known? You wouldn't have known. You can that's the problem with MS as well. It's not a disease you would see. Like Georgie got cancer, she lost her hair, she looked very sick, she was going through chemotherapy. MS is different to that, and it's different for every person. Some people can have physical issues, some people can have cognitive issues and all that sort of stuff. I just hid it all pretty well.
But now he hears from people who also, through Jamie telling his story, who have MS and haven't told their family. There's people suffering in silence, so many people.
Mainly men?
No.
I think you hear from more women.
No, it's an illness that tends to be slightly more female than male. So you definitely hear from more women. I do have a few men.
And why are they high? Why?
I spoke about this on the Late. Like, humans by their very nature are tribal, right? This is my view on it. And when you're in a tribe, you talk the same, you look the same, you're with people all the time, you dress like them, you act like them, you pick up habits that they have. When something happens to you and you get sick, there's an element of you feel like you're isolated. Then you're different, so your tribal mentality wants you to stay in there with the group of people, as opposed to standing up and saying, well, actually guys, I'm different to everyone here, because I think there's an innate fear of being othered or being isolated from that group. So that's why I think a lot of people don't talk about it, and it's something that you may not, because you don't know the course of it, you may not have to
also
talk
the
about it if you're not
mentality.
comfortable.
Like, I was going to give out to you in a nice way. I was going to berate you as toxic masculinity. Is it like, I'm just, because you are pretty driven, amazing, and it's like, I don't want to be a victim in my own. I'm working at a pretty hardcore industry. I don't want everyone to be like, hey, you feeling today? You can go home early. I don't want that. I get that, right? So it's going to give, but the fact you're saying there's women who have families who just don't want to engage in that conversation, it's also sad.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now?
Yeah,
How
I'm
are
good.
you? Like,
Yeah, I'm
So
good.
what I love about that story is that when you said, then when you finally came out and said, he put up his hand and said, I have MS, you were embraced by the tribe,
Yeah,
not
it's the opposite.
othered.
It's the opposite thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to finish it off, it's
Really?
the opposite thing. People actually wrap their arms around you, you know, that kind of way, and they bring you closer, and you're a bigger part of the tribe then. But you don't, you know, your mind doesn't go there. It never really thinks about that.
we always think
Fear.
of the negative.
Yeah,
We
or
always
defensive,
think of the
or, you know,
negative.
go straight to negative. Yeah. But yeah, I'm good. I'm well. I've just done a half marathon. Going to do an ultra marathon in a few weeks.
Just for the
He hasn't told me about it yet.
It's like, and an announcement.
What
I'm
date,
gone
Jamie?
for 3 months to Iceland. You're on the
It's actually
roster.
Sweden.
Whatever. You are amazing, but you'll probably be like that whether this had happened in your life. You were always going to be. How are you and your health? I know you don't you have your bloods? Is that coming to a close soon? All the time you have to get them?
I'm 5 years cancer free.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We have a baby on the way. Our surrogate is pregnant.
Just drop that. Like,
Whoa.
Georgie, you're such a media. And by the way,
I want to tell you the best
no,
thing
hang on.
about
Back
this.
up your truck. Back up your truck into the car parking bit. You're super annoying. Okay, you're 5 years cancer free. That is a massive moment. Yes, the baby is amazing. I want to die. But that is amazing, right? That's a really scary thing you have been through. And I know you were at the breast cancer event yesterday and you constantly advocate and you're constantly there. You went through hell. I've had 2 babies and I went through hell and I wasn't sick. It's really hard to then bring up a child and give her everything when you're on the floor. You're incredible. Well done.
Thank you.
And congratulations. And I hope it never touches you ever again.
Me too.
And well done.
Thank you so much. No, and 5 years was a great. I'm scared every time I'm put into an MRI machine and my yearly test. But I said to you this year, when I was in the machine, I said I wasn't scared this year because my mind was so strong. I was like, I am well. I am well. I am well. And I kept repeating what I knew was true. Thankfully, it turned out I was well. But my cancer anniversary, if you call it that, is in October. And our baby is due in October.
So okay. So you have Pia, who's
6.
just turned 6, because Gia's 5. Okay. I'm having a baby.
And we're having another baby.
Congratulations.
We're so happy.
This is so funky. I can't handle this information.
But now I get to replace October, which is sadness.
So this baba's due in October.
This baba's due in October. So we are so excited. We can't believe it. We were,
How do
Pia's
you
always
feel?
been a great
Is it kind of like
sleeper.
you can't really believe it, or are you kind of not wanting to, or are you just in it? This is so exciting.
I feel like we're kind of just in it a little bit, and it's
been a long process as well, hasn't it? It's been a hellish,
over a 2-year process. Like obviously we were due to do a transfer in February of last year, and then the war broke out in Ukraine, and that was paused. So
we started in September 2020 looking into this.
Yeah, so it's been
that's a long. So it'll be
3 years. So we started looking into it,
Yeah.
and then there's a process, and then there's all the paperwork and all these legal things you got to go through, and if solicitors, Department of Foreign Affairs, you've all these people involved, and it's a tough process, and then it's stalled, and we just want a baby, and the P is getting older and older, and you're like, oh.
This podcast is brought to you by Aveeno Baby, a dermatologist and paediatrician tested skincare range specially formulated with high quality oats to nourish, soothe and protect your baby's delicate skin from first use. Aveeno Baby is available in stores nationwide, including Tesco, SuperValu and Dunnes. And as your little ones get older, the new Aveeno Kids range is proven to cleanse, protect and help nourish kids developing skin, scalp and hair. Also available at Tesco and Dunnes. You don't know the sex. Obviously, you're not going to tell us, but like, so exciting because it's 50-50. I always tell people they're like, it might be a boy. I'm like, well, no, it's 50-50. Like, yeah, so exciting.
We'll see.
Pia, does she know?
Pia knows. Pia's educating senior infants about surrogacy.
I thought you
And
were going to say about sex. I was like,
so
way.
we actually,
that's gorgeous.
two of our friends, parents from the school, came to New York, and I was chatting in New York about our pregnancy, and I told them, and they said, oh, listen, to be honest, we knew. Pia got up and announced it, and they were telling their little girl about Brian Dowling and Arthur and explaining the journey and explaining surrogacy to her, and she turned around, she goes, I know, Pia explained surrogacy to me, and these are the conversations our little kids are having in
What
school.
are we talking about? What flavour bubblegum is? Like,
Yeah.
what has happened to the world? We give out about the world being crazy, but it is also great in so many other ways. I knew nothing.
But I had this moment with Pia when I was explaining to her when our embryos were on the way to the new country, and I showed her the embryos in a backpack, and then Pia looked at me and she was like, was I in a bag? And then, oh my God, I was like trying to explain, and I just said, look, you know, the seed is, you were always a seed in my tummy, but we've had to give our seed to another lady who's going to grow our seed for us. And Pia looked at me, and it was like this feminine moment where Pia just looked at me and she went, and I said, you know, because I was sick, and she just like put her hand on me and she goes, that is so sad. It was like she could connect with the feeling of not growing your own child. And she looked at me. I felt so seen by her in that moment.
Wow.
And as a 6-year-old little girl, like, she gets
She's
that.
pretty special, though.
Yeah.
She's quite tuned in. Like, she's like, we joke the odd time that we're like a throuple.
Well, I'm concerned
She
for.
follows us around and like gets full on stuck into adult conversations with us and like has an opinion on everything.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
will you just, so she's got
And
a
they
lot
bicker,
of
the
comp
two of
on.
them,
Yeah.
and I'm like the child. And
This
oh
is
my
like Jason
God.
and Gia, yeah. But I feel like Joxie O'Donovan, that's what I'm naming your child, boy or girl. Joxie O'Donovan's going to come into your little throuple, which is like, because she is like a little adult, because she's with you guys and she's learned, she's gone through a lot with you guys, a lot, and travelled. And Joxie O'Donovan's going to come in and break the showdown, which is what Simone did. She came into our little three where Jason would be arguing with Gia, or I don't know what he does with Gia. They antagonise each other. He has his deep meaningfuls and he goes on, I'm just leave it back here, like just give her the I know what girls want, they want to and then he's like, don't step in when I'm parenting, and we're like, and Simone came in like a bulldozer and like tells us all no and bolt, like
No way.
Oh my God, like,
How exciting.
she was such a tiny, like under, 6 pound, like a teeny little thing, and such a miracle baby, and we were all like, miracle baby. She's a like, she is a rock star. She doesn't give a damn, and she just bosses everyone around. It's always the little ones. Was there sadness? And you can be honest, you don't have to talk about it. Was there sadness you couldn't carry, or were you like, oh, do you know what, this is not?
There's definitely been moments where, when the surrogacy journey got hard and our journey didn't work out in Ukraine, that I felt like, should I come off my cancer drug and just get on with it and have a baby myself for the sake of everybody else? You know, because I think as women, like, we do sacrifice ourselves a lot for our family. And I was thinking, God, am I being dramatic? Like, should I just get on with it? So in those moments was definitely hard. And anytime I had a wobble, Jamie was there to say, no, absolutely not. Like, we've made a decision. You're not going to carry another child. Because I had a, pregnancy related cancer because I was diagnosed within a year of having Pia.
So it's like a hormonal, am I correct in saying, like, it's to do with the surge when you're pregnant? Or
Well, it's
educate me.
any cancer that is diagnosed within a year is considered a pregnancy related cancer. I think whether it's to do with it or not,
Yeah.
So we just, and I didn't look into that. I didn't really Google it or anything. I just accepted that and decided that Pia really needs me in her life, and we would pursue surrogacy for the sake of, I think, even more, not even my health, because I have had friends who have been through breast cancer and went on to have babies and they're perfectly fine and their babies are fine and they're fine. But I think for my mental health, it wasn't a good idea for me.
Did you like being pregnant the first time?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm not good at being pregnant. Sorry, it's a complete and utter privilege, and we know this. But my gosh, I'm not a funky pregnant person. I don't know.
I'd love to experience pregnancy as the person I am now, because I feel
Totally
like a different
Yes,
person.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the part of it that I would like to experience. But I'm very trusting of my path and my journey. I feel really lucky that I feel that way. So in terms of overwhelming sadness, I haven't felt that,
Did you always want a second child?
Yeah.
Ask you first, yeah.
Yeah, we have a video of just after Pia was born, literally a couple of minutes after, and on the video I'm like, let's have another one.
Oh my God, what?
Like, yeah. So it's like I said it straight away. I was like, come on, we have another one or whatever. Like, we're having another one now, which is 6 years later. But
And that's what I love about podcasts and women sharing their stories, especially in Ireland. And that's why I started The Good Glow, is because if you root around, you're always going to find someone's life that's like yours. For example, Rosanna Davison walked into a hair salon one day that I was in. And
had you met her? But well, you knew her probably through the media,
I knew, I wasn't kind of friends with her.
Yeah.
And the girl who was doing my hair said, oh, there's Rosanna. And I said, oh yeah, and she's on a surrogacy journey. That's amazing. And Rosanna came over and said that she was pursuing surrogacy in Ukraine. And by sharing that story with me, it opened my door. And then I share my story, and then it opens someone else's door. And I think as women in this country, if we can come together and be as honest as possible and share our stories, if we feel ready to do so, we can all help each other, and we can all wrap our, like what Jamie was saying, the tribe, the tribe will embrace you. So I feel so lucky that I can share my story, and you've shared your story, and we can all see something in each other, and that's the power of
so powerful.
The
world. 12 people on this podcast are only here because I made a connection, not through media or going to an event or being fancy or Instagram, all through speaking about my story through either The Good Glow or an interview or someone pulling me into something. And I found these people through various ways, and it's so interesting. There's a connection to each of them. One has gone through IVF, but it was the way she had to do that. And then I didn't have to do that, but I thought I might. And then there was a lady who had an ectopic. There's someone who just supported me. Like, it's crazy. How do you parent? I cannot wait to get, we have time to do this. How do you parent? Like, what are your styles, or do you have a style? Like,
I would say,
who's strict? Come on, let's get down and dirty.
Jamie's the kind of lead parent in the house. I'm more sister friend vibes.
Are
so
you? Jason hates. He's like stopping her friend.
Yeah. So I always wanted a sister, and then I used to watch the Kardashians and watch Khloe and Kourtney wrestling on the ground, and I was like, oh God, it's all I ever
they
wanted.
Waxed each other and stuff. Yeah. They were also funky town.
So myself and Pia are like that, aren't we? We're kind of such messers together. And then Jamie is such an incredible dad. It literally blows me away every day. The commitment, the love, the dedication, the knowledge, the time. On a Sunday morning, I get up and I'm trying to put out my podcast, and Pia would be watching TV. When Jamie gets up with Pia and I come into the kitchen, they're on the floor building a Lego house. And I'm like, oh my God.
But daddies and their girls, Georgie. My dad had 3 girls. And I remember Jason think he was going to have a pack of rugby players. And I think when he had Gia, he was like, damn. And I was like, why? Why stop this sex? It doesn't matter what sex they are. We're so lucky. He was like, no, it's not that. This is going to be hard for me. Why? Because I'm going to become obsessed with her. And I just wanted to have boundaries and bring a kid to a match. And I'm like, well, she can bring her to matches. She could be really smart. No, I know. But it's just, I'm going to always be very protective. And he's crazy with her. So I'd say you're just like...
Yeah, I'm pretty protective of her. And yeah, she's... she's really creative, which is huge for me. I love that. And she loves making things, using her hands, exploring, getting herself dirty in the garden and doing just stuff that kids should be doing, in my opinion.
She puts nails in and screws things in.
Yeah,
and
she's a real get stuck into, like I said earlier, get stuck into an old job or so. Yeah. So if you're
I love that.
putting out the IKEA furniture together, Pia's in the middle with the screw gun.
They say the most important things for children is to be involved in day-to-day chores. They said it's not even education, and it's actually not all the things but it's if you involved a kid in getting the paper, like, oh, I have to go get the paper, which seems hassly, or and putting up an IKEA thing or getting the post. If you involve them day-to-day chores,
Ooh,
apparently
that's a
their
good
mental
tip.
health is far better than any. So if you're always trying to make it fancy or an event or an adventure or bring them to something, they have an expectation and they get anxious about how you feel about how that day has gone. But if you involve them in the day-to-day running of your life, they feel completely seen and loved by you. And I learned this with my son, and it's really interesting. I find if we overcompensate or overfill, or, oh, we're doing this thing today, it's never what it's going to be. But if we involve her in things in a nice way, no, not flipping, you know, get out there and paint all the walls of the shed, you're 5. But like, just showing her that we really want her to be involved and we trust her and we think she's smart enough and capable enough. They say that's so good for their mental health.
Wow, that's a great.
Like,
But he's doing it already, so you're fine.
Yeah.
Like a good example of that is like we bought an office for our garden to move
Our problems to
move our problems to move our problems into
Let's take it
nature, because when you
outside.
put everything in nature, it all gets quite calm. So we
so
but we told the guys that set it up, don't paint it, we want to paint it. So like I had Pia out there and she was like getting stuck in and doing, like, she wasn't doing a great job or anything, but like she was doing it and she wants to do it. And then she wanted to help us put the floor down, and then she wants us to help make the tables and stuff like that. And she does help, and she knows how to do those things. I always think cop on will take you much further in life than anything, any degree, any qualification. Pia has a lot of cop on because we kind of involve her, like you said, in those kind of day-to-day things that, you know, life just throws at you.
Do you argue about parenting?
No, I think
Not
we're
really.
really on the same page.
That's great.
Yeah.
Really, we're just too busy arguing about other things.
Yeah. Aren't we?
is
Yeah, it's
fine.
arguing about work. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Do you argue about work? I feel like you're seen on
We're-
the outside as the most perfect and we know you're a perfect couple and you have a great marriage. But are there things that push you? Like, do you find there's things that piss each other?
I drive Jamie mad because everything's in my head.
Because of the analysis thing.
And yeah, Jamie loves an L posted on a wall. You know,
What
or
do you mean?
trying to get me to like,
I like a
concentrate in
strategy
meetings.
and a plan.
Oh my
and,
God, Jamie.
like, you know,
Literally.
And is it indecision? Do you find it's like that there's just like, is Georgie taking her time on something, or is it just that we don't need to overanalyze?
It's distraction.
A distraction.
Yeah.
So
There's
I
so much in her head all the time,
That's
and
interesting.
worries too much about stuff that she doesn't need to worry about. That she's. Like,
So
she's
if for an
just-
example, I came home a while ago and I was like, I'm so stressed. I feel like I'm going to have a mental breakdown. And Jamie said, well, we just need to write down everything you need to do. So he was like, okay, what do you need to do? And I was like, write back to Greg O'Shea. Because I was trying to organise a podcast with Greg. So Jamie
we did a
writes out.
post-it session. I was like, each of these is going on a
Pretty
post-it.
sure that's.
Jamie's like, okay, so the text back to Greg to book in the podcast is going to take 30 seconds, but I'm going to write that on a post-it because that was taking up so much space in my
Why?
brain.
Oh
I
my God,
don't
you have
know.
an interesting mind. I want to live in there for a while.
And then he bought me the book Eat That Frog, which I have to read, which is about kind of,
Do the worst thing first.
yeah.
Eat the frog.
oh, I always eat the frog.
See,
I learned to eat the frog after working in that wonderful place we worked.
She
I always eat the frog.
procrastinates.
Yeah.
So Georgie will be like, oh, I'll do all those things later, as opposed to just doing them.
I eat the
So
frog,
we
but then I
fight
feel
about
like the
that
day is going to be great after I eat the frog. And then when it's not, I get really disillusioned by life. I can be a bit of a negative Nancy, and I think that must be hard for Jason because I'm like, he'll be like, you're going to kick ass. This is going to be, and I'm like, it's not, it's going to be really awful. And I think I do that as self-preservation, like to preempt so there's no.
Yeah. So
Which is terrible,
the
which is
reason I'm
terrible.
not texting Greg O'Shea is my fear of rejection.
Of
You know, that he
what?
might cancel the podcast or
Are you crazy?
you know, that sort of way. But that's the thing. I don't face things, and Jamie really helps me face things. And the post-it
With post-its.
session,
But I feel like, why
worked
do you
really
care
well.
so much? Like, I feel like asked people do the podcast. If they say no, I don't take it as I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I actually don't care so much about people pleasing. Gosh, I did. Sorry. And that's been a process. I care more about that just nothing is going to work out and everything's like, I care more about that stuff. So it's interesting. You're kind of caring more about what people might think. Or
No, it's just more of a kind of, yeah, I think it is. The podcast means so much to me that I put my heart and soul into it. But of course, Greg.
But it is
Greg,
hard to get
messaging
good
me.
guests and to nail good
Yeah.
guests. It is hard. It is
Yeah.
hard. Not everyone's free or they don't want to tell that story in that month.
Yes,
It
that's
is
true.
hard. We spoke
Yeah.
about that before. It isn't always easy to do that.
Like we work so closely together, and spend so much time together anyway that I think we almost think we know what the other person is thinking, so we don't communicate.
So interesting.
And like we could finish each other's sentences most of the time, but like, you know, Georgie will say something and I'll be like, what? She's kind of I'll half say something to her thinking she understands what I mean, because I've been thinking about it all the time and I think she's thinking what I'm thinking. That's so it's like we need to over communicate to each other now, and that has helped a lot.
Yeah, so assumptions about your partner.
That is so interesting, because even though that's so interesting, okay, because Jay and I are together a lot in the house, and through COVID, obviously we were in the baby and stuff, and I took a long mat leave because I wanted to be with Simone, and I noticed that too, that I felt like we were on the same, but you're completely different people, right? Whether you're together for absolutely ever or you're together for another year, you are completely different identities that have come together, and you will be fine. And we forget that when we get married. Like, we're like, oh, we're a mesh of da-da-da-da. Jason is a completely different person to me when he's with his friends or in his workplace or on the phone. And I'm completely different, and that's good. And you're so correct about the assumption that we're thinking this. And I find I get so shocked when Jason says something and I'm like, I wasn't even thinking about that. And it's really good that you're saying you're working on that. Like, there's definitely, like, we're 10 years married next month, and I've definitely found this the hardest part. The second baby, the not getting stuck in a rut, not making assumptions, and being respectful of each other and kind. And sometimes you just like, when I'm tired and stressed about work, I can be mean. I can just ignore and get cranky and get very in on myself. And I said it to Jay the other day, like, I'm not a mean person. He goes, no, you're not. You're one of the kindest people I know, but you get cranky with me, and you don't get cranky with all the people who are hurting you. And that's a really interesting one, how you hurt the one you love most, and just working on that and working through communication. But I find 10 years is definitely, they say 7 years, I think 10 years is definitely such a big milestone. It can be heavy because you're like, it's huge, and we have to still be snogging all day long. Snog me now. How much sex is everyone else having? They're having sex 7 times a week. Jason's like, well, it's not possible because it's a Sabbath day, rest day. Like we joke. And then I'm like, you know, I argue with the parent, but you do all of this reflection, and it's okay to do that. And you do worry, because we really care about our marriage. We're not people who will walk away easily or give up on this, and we really care about it, and we need each other. But it's funny, like, you work together too, so I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's definitely over communication now. If something happens, I'll say, well, Jamie, I just want to explain the reason why this happened, or I said this was because of this.
Okay, that's great.
And that can be really hard to do, because you feel really vulnerable, kind of over explaining sometimes. Yeah, but it's definitely worked for us.
Yeah, it does help. Yeah, and getting outside in the midst of an argument. I'm like, okay, I'll leave you with that thought. See you. And I'm gone. I'm just out
the
looking
move,
at a tree.
like, where you live is important. Like, we moved from the city out to Enniskerry, and that has really been life-changing for us. But also, I just need to control my emotions. Like, we'll have a really petty little fight and I'll be crying, and Jay's like, I'm not sure this was warranted, this amount of crying. I'm like, I don't know what it is. Listen, there's so much more I can touch on. Like, the parenting thing is interesting, but I can also see, and I know you, and I love that about you, give snippets of Pia. You don't drown, like, you're not saturating, you know, it's not like you're selling your family thing. And I love that about you. It's like, there she is as part of our life, and she fits in, and we do the odd video post, and I think that's really great, because I struggle with that too with social media. I want to share because I'm like, they're so cute, and then I have to really go, well, they're Jason's kids too, and I have to respect that boundary and protection and stuff. But just the bits we see, she's extremely loved and happy, you can tell. And such a chip off the old, like, you can see she's these long legs running around the feet, like, she's so cute.
And I think as well, the Good Glow is kind of about self. And even in the book, it's about your relationship and your journey with yourself, and how actually, when I stopped in my life and I stopped living in my external world, so I stopped doing everything for Jamie or who I worked for or Pia or my mum and my brothers, when I got out of everyone else's business and into my own business, how do I feel? What's my relationship with myself? Actually, do I like myself? What do I like? Who am I? When I started to ask myself all of those questions, everything in my external world started to change. But it was only when I went in that the external world changed. So when I, talk about sharing my life, and even this is such an intimate podcast for us because, the Good Glow really is about relationship with self. And so, yeah, that's why I don't really talk about parenting too much, or, you know, I wouldn't see myself as a mom blogger or anything like that. I just want whoever is like even listening to this podcast, like if they're out, whatever they're doing on their way to work, pushing a buggy, cleaning the house, making the dinner, whatever they're doing, to just remember that you matter. Because I think we can get so caught up in what everyone else is doing and what everyone else thinks, when actually you have everything within yourself in order to be happy. And it took me a long time in my life to figure that out. So I told myself, you know, I hated cold water, I hated exercising. And then in my recovery from cancer, I started to get to know, actually, who am I? I love getting into cold water. I love exercising. And all of these things that I had told myself who I was and what I liked were not
Is
true.
it societal? Why do we do that?
I
Actually, don't know.
No, but what is that? Rebecca doesn't
it's people
play
pleasing.
chess, or she's not that smart, or she does. No, but why do we? I wonder what that is. It a culture? Like, because I find we have done that to ourselves. And then you hit 40 or you hit whatever, you're like, I'm not actually that person. I don't know if I'm that social, or I don't know if I'm.
Because I really believe that we put ourselves into this box very early in our life. And it, coming back to the tribal thing, right? So, okay, Rebecca has never exercised. She's 30 now. So if she puts on her runners tomorrow and starts running down the road, are the tribe going to say,
She's not
you.
a runner.
That's not you.
Maybe it is that.
And you hold yourself
Maybe it is
within these
that.
limits of these stories that you've told yourself
That's
your whole
interesting.
life, and you keep yourself small because it's so
Is
vulnerable.
it fear of judgment?
It's so hard to change. It's so hard to admit that you want to change or that you want something more. And the first line in my book is, this is a story of a girl who got really tired of keeping herself small. Because I wanted to find out actually what more can I do in my life. And yes, I'm 33, but I have a right to change my mind about who I am. Luckily, I had amazing support. Nobody slagged me for running down the road. No one
cares
slagged
what
me
anyone
for
else is
jumping
doing.
into the sea or
Nobody
laughed at
cares
me.
what anyone else is doing. You learn that too.
Exactly.
Everyone's thinking about themselves all of the time.
Yeah.
That I do wonder, is it cultural or parenting? I'm not blaming parents of that generation, but I do think that's so funny. She was the black sheep. She was just not that smart. She was the crazy one. She was the joker. And when those words are constantly used, like Jamie's the really serious, he's the intent. If you're given the same narrative and
Labels.
descriptives, labels, like, you know, I'm very careful about it. If Jesus is something, she's not the silly one. She's not.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful because they stick like glue. And I did have a lot of labels growing up, and it's very dangerous. And like, that's interesting you're saying it. Is that what's happened? They're just there and you just need to shake them off.
Yeah, like even Pia refuses to go to sports camp. And she has done for the last 2 years. But 2 weeks ago, she turned around and said, I want to go to sport camp this Easter. And instead of us saying, but Pia, you don't like sport camp, we were like, yes, okay, brilliant. Let's see how she gets on. And you're so right that those labels start when we're kids.
Oh, they do. And you try not to, Georgie. Like, I think we're pretty great parents, but I see it with certain things where I'm like, well, why don't you want to go to that thing that everyone's the play date that I'm like, they're so intuitive because they haven't been kicked down. Little kids are just like, I just don't really feel like going it because they have boundaries and they don't people please yet. I just don't really feel like going. I know how I feel today. I just want to say, but don't everyone's like the 7 other girls going to that, and it's like this awful insecurity of adult to kind of impress on your kids. And I'm really wary of that, and I'm really trying to be mindful of like pushing my stuff on her. Where
Yes.
she doesn't want to fit in with those particular people, that's cool, or she wants to do this wacky thing. And I'm trying, because I do think we're definitely told to fit into a perfect, you know, this size fits all and don't move from that and that.
Yeah. And Glennon Doyle speaks about it in her book
Glennon.
Untamed. Like her kid coming, and I think her kid had like wanted to dye her hair purple or something, and Glennon was like trying so hard not to be like, her biggest worry was that she would be othered for having purple hair, but she didn't want to like inflict that on her child. But even when Pia picks a mad outfit, I have to try so hard not to say, you can't wear
crazy.
that, you look ridiculous,
Yes.
you know?
Oh, and I've this year now, because we have definitely a lot of clothes issues in our house, have just been like, you look great.
Let them wear
And
what they
Jason's
want.
like, what the hell is happening? What is that? And I'm like, back up your like, just leave it, because we argue it, it's going to make it worse, and we say something mean, it's going to stick. But also, like, who are we to know? Maybe that is, I don't know. And he's like, but Bex, her tights are on the thing. I'm like, I don't know, Jason.
Her tights are on her head.
like her knickers, like
Her tights are her hat.
I'm just like, Jason, she is part of us, so like we can pretend that this is maybe not, but like.
Because you're afraid it's going to reflect badly on you as a parent. How could she let her child go out like that?
Sorry, it's not about her. She's awesome. Yeah. She's the cutest little doodle ever. Anyway, the Glennon and Abbey of Ireland. That's what you both are. I love Abbey Wamba. I'm just like,
I've tried
OMG.
so hard to get Abby on my podcast. If Abby happens to be listening, please get back to my emails.
But you are the Glennon and Abbey of Ireland. Like, you are changing mindsets. You're making us, I think this country has had a lot of generational trauma. We've so many issues here about conversations, mental health. We've so many issues, and you are really just scrubbing that. And when I think of Jamie and Georgie, the hot little things, well, Jamie was tall, but like he was running this. Sorry, he was really hot. Everything's got no, but he was like this really tall powerhouse in our company, and Georgie was this always super busy. Oh my God, Georgie was the kind of person who said she wouldn't have eaten something, she'd go back in, she'd do another bullshit,
That's
she'd
my
edit
problem.
something.
That was her problem.
Edit something, and she'd be like this, and then I've got to go to this. I've got to interview like Brad Pitt tonight. I was just to watch her, and she was just this bursting of energy, but also exhausting. Let's be fair.
Oh yeah.
And she is now a 6-year-old child, a home, a husband, is having a second child, has written a book. The two of them are running flipping events in New York and all over the world to come. They're doing the most beautiful events in Ireland that are changing people's lives. You have an incredible podcast that's award-winning. You are both have overcome things. Jamie, I know yours is a long-lived battle, but I believe you will live long. You're an incredible person. And Georgie, you've overcome cancer. Like, do you ever just go, what the hell happened? Because I do.
Yeah, we do all the time.
When you're in it, like, you know, when you're running your own business, it's quite different to running a structured company and stuff. So it's hard to step out of it. And I think you were struggling a little bit recently with overwhelm. So I wrote her a letter, and I was like, these are all the things you've achieved in the last.
No, tell us what the first line of the letter was.
Dear Sexy Pants.
He said, this is not a divorce letter.
Oh yeah, it's not a divorce letter. And then I also said, but it's also not a love letter.
He did.
And then I said, here's all the stuff you've achieved over the last while. And it was even only when I was writing that list, I was like, holy shit, that's only in 12 months. A lot has gone on. I think, though, that stuff, it's hard to get perspective on it. And we do get a lot of feedback from our audience and people who engage with the Good Glow and who engage with Georgie and say amazing things to us. And that's hugely rewarding. But like, ultimately, at the core of our business is a desire to help people, and that desire has come through our own struggles, and like, as long as that stays there, you know, we'll always have a really positive and hopefully successful business, because that's like ultimately what we want to do. We've had like 10 years married, or 7 years married, and 10 years or plus together, but 10 years of that has been like a serious battle, with me getting sick, my dad passing away, leaving jobs, you getting sick, having a baby, not being able to have another baby for a while, all that sort of stuff. So like, we've had a ups and downs, put it that way, over 10 years. And as long as we're sort of learning from that and applying what we've learned and sort of guiding people through that, then I think, look, the business will always be successful.
Yeah, and never making assumptions.
Yeah.
Over communication.
Big time. Keep talking.
Such a joy. It was such a joy to have you both. I think the next book will be you both, hopefully telling your story one day. James, cringe.
I'm not writing a book.
But it'd be amazing. You're just very special people. Keep doing what you're doing. It ain't easy to get up and have to please the world. I know it's exhausting because people do want a lot out of you. It's not the same as going in and working for the man and coming home. Like, there's a lot expected, but keep doing what you're doing. I think you're phenomenal.
Oh, thanks for all the support. You're amazing.
Oh,
And
stop!
we love you. So thank you so
you so
much.
much.
Yeah, thanks, Mel.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Little Birdie Told Me. And if you did, it would be wonderful if you could subscribe to the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Aveeno Baby, a dermatologist and paediatrician tested skincare range specially formulated with high quality oats to nourish, soothe and protect your baby's delicate skin from first use.
Aveeno Baby is available in stores nationwide, including Tesco, SuperValu and Dunnes. And as your little ones get older, the new Aveeno Kids range is proven to cleanse, protect and help nourish kids developing skin, scalp and hair. Also available at Tesco and Dunnes.